years. We'll be uploading the videos to YouTube soon. It hasn't completely happened yet. We're still waiting on some materials from some of the presenters. It will happen very soon, though. And then we'll have the videos live. If you already, like you've heard that there was an extremely interesting talk at GRCon and you wish you could have attended, you can find the publications, all the papers, already on pubs.gnuradio.org. And you can also find most of the slide decks, if not all, on the GNU Radio website. If you click through to GRCon and then go through the presentations, you'll find the slide set. So we're very open about the material, about everything that happens on GRCon. So that we hope that this is a long-term positive contribution, not only to the GNU Radio project itself. Talking about what happened in terms of projects at the conference, we had a couple of working groups. Among these were things like where people worked on DVB-S, so satellite TV, demodulator infrastructure. We had work going on documentation. I think Marcus in here, he could probably lose a few words about that. And we've had work on the heterogeneous compute aspects of GNU Radio and the necessary changes that we need to see in the GNU Radio scheduler for that. And that was a very nice working group that actually got a lot of people on board with this. We got actual dedicated, yes, we are gonna do something in that direction because we will profit, you will profit. So we're right now in a great situation where it's very tangible that we'll make progress in terms of getting GNU Radio to cooperate nicely with FPGAs, GPUs, whatever. And so this is actually pretty exciting to me as a project maintainer. Which brings me to what I did at GRCon, aside from enjoying the coffee, was I had a short talk about what has happened to GNU Radio in the last year. For those who didn't participate in the last couple of project calls, I kind of took over the role as project maintainer in February. And we've been moving forward in releasing stuff, getting work done, and so far we've been very successful at fixing a lot of bugs, releasing 3.7 releases relatively rapidly, which is very nice. What happened at GRCon is that the long-standing development branch, the next branch, has been merged into master. So we've got a lot of fun happening on master right now, which means we have a lot of bugs to fix until we can release the 3.8 release. But we're obviously making progress towards that. There's a few blockers here. It's all limited by the amount of time that we can spend. But yeah, so we're moving towards a release 3.8, which is pretty exciting considering that we'll be moving to Qt5 there. We will enable, not enforce, enable the use of Python 3 instead of Python 2. And we will get rid of a few old dependencies, update a lot of dependencies so that, you know, we can build on future machines too. And so, yeah, that's a great, that's been a great, moment when we actually noticed that, well, there's movement there and there's people sticking around with us. So from my side, the conference was a great success. And yeah, so that's kind of it. Martin, want to lose a few words on the heterogeneous working group, or?
Sure. So the heterogeneous working group was about heterogeneous computing. It wasn't just a heterogeneous motley
group of people.
Yeah, so we're talking about heterogeneous computing here, and really this was a very, very, very early meeting. So if people recall, we had a working group in the past called the coprocessors working group, which was trying to tackle a similar problem. but that effort kind of, went like, I don't know, tethered off. I don't know what the right word is. It basically, sizzled out. Want to pick your verb. So we're trying to revamp this. So this was really the first meeting we've had with regard to that, and it was more of a sort of a getting people onto the same problem statement, which is, in a nutshell, like how can we make GNU Radio collaborate or cooperate with different types of hardware. And Marcus already touched on that, so not I don't want to go into too much detail. A whole bunch of people came, and we had really good discussion for quite a while. We asked who was willing to commit to some actual work, and there was some various level of commitment there. Various interests were represented. In my non-GNU Radio role as an EDIS person, for example, we are interested in getting FPGA support more closely integrated into GNU Radio, but there are other things that we want to do, such as GPUs. We didn't really talk about other kinds of chips, such as DSPs, but that's definitely something we sort of have in the back of our head. So what are we going to do next? That is not entirely clear. So first of all, the people who were in that actual meeting, I will reach out to, and we will sort of have some follow-up discussions, who is still interested. And we will definitely spin out another new working group from this to take this effort further forward. But we will not do that in secrecy, or like in the hidden shady corners of GNU Radio land. We will try and be as transparent as possible in any kind of effort that we do. And I'm being very vague here, not because I'm trying to gloss over facts, but simply because it's just so early in the process that we really haven't gotten much further than A, figure out that we want to support different types of hardware, B, have a discussion about how that sort of affects the actual scheduler architecture, and I think most importantly, who is actually willing to invest some time. Yeah, the Heterogeneous Working Group happened sort of half day on Friday of GRCon, and that's there were a couple of other working groups. There was one on documentation. I don't know, Mark, if you want to say something on that. We didn't really talk about it before this call. Did you want to say something? You can just say no if you don't.
I mean, it was a pretty short working group, but we did talk about various ways to make it easier for people to improve documentation. Like, for example, someone who doesn't even have a GitHub account, we talked about a way where maybe there's a button in GRC on the documentation tab that brings you to a web forum, and then it uses some GNU Radio owned separate GitHub account to put in a pull request. We're pretty much just looking for low-hanging fruit as far as ways to make it easier. And then we also talked about how to share flow graphs that don't require any custom blocks, because right now we have CGRAN, which is how to share out-of-tree modules, and usually there's flow graphs along with them. But if you don't have an out-of-tree module, you just have a flow graph, what's a nice way to share it? That's about it.
Cool. Yeah, so I think that wraps up GRCon. I can second Marcus's enthusiasm. I really, really enjoyed it. I don't know, every year I come home from GRCon, reinvigorated, new ideas. It's just fascinating to see what people actually do. Actually, Marcus, sorry, did you already talk about the videos? I know you think you did.
I did, but yes, they'll be up soon.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, then just to wrap up GRCon, I just really, really, really want to thank all the organizers first, because there's a lot of work that goes into a conference like this, and it was just a great conference. I mean, we had food, we had booze, we had working projectors, we had working Wi-Fi, microphones. It's just all great. And I would also like to thank the speakers and presenters for giving such great talks and providing such interesting content. And I mean, filling a 5-day conference with almost all interesting talks is really hard. And and somehow it happened. So yeah, I would really like to thank everyone involved, in particular the organizers, but just everyone who showed up and just people who came. I think this is what makes the GNU Radio community so special, is this actual, in life and on the internet interactions that we have with so many people. And I really hope we can keep it going in the future. Okay, that's GRCon. Basically, I have two more announcements we want to make. The first that we want to talk about is FOSDEM. So the last 4 years, I think, we've been doing a track called the Software Defined Radio track at FOSDEM. So FOSDEM is a 2-day event at the first weekend of February in Brussels at ULB. And it's a fantastic open source event, and it covers all sorts of domains. And the way it actually gets organized, so the organizers provide all the infrastructure and make it all happen, and other people then run what's called developer rooms, which are effectively tracks, conference tracks. And we've had a software-defined radio track to talk about all things software-defined radio in the free software world, and we'll be doing that again next year, 2019. There's a minor change. We renamed the dev room to Free Software Radio Dev Room because we wanted to emphasize the fact that we want to include all projects that are radio related. And there is sort of a technical distinction that you can make, like is something really SDR when it's actually talking about, some ham radio or satcom related software. And we don't want to make that distinction. Like anyone who's doing free software and doing it for the purpose of wireless communications or radio or even radar, if there's an antenna involved in free software, then you're probably in the right place. So the call for participation has already gone out, and I will paste the link to, we have a wiki page for FOSDEM, for the free software radio dev room on the GNU Radio wiki. Even though this is not a GNU Radio event, this is something I do want to emphasize. Like you don't have to talk about GNU Radio, you can talk about whatever you want. So the call for participation has already gone out, and we are already collecting people who are interested in giving a presentation. And we've always filled up the room, like from the earliest point in time in the mornings to, I don't know, usually like 15 minutes before we really have to close. So I would really like to encourage people to submit their talks early if they want to come. It's okay to submit like something where there's some detail lacking. You don't have to have everything perfect, but by the time you submit your interest. And in fact, I would encourage people to, if they know they want to come and they want to talk about something, just submit something, and you can always update the abstract as you go along. It's not necessary to have it all complete. At some point, obviously, we'll need more details, but just to get your name down, it helps us. It helps us do the planning. It makes our lives a lot easier when we have people's interest in as soon as possible. So, Phil, do you have? No, he's not on the call. Like I said, first weekend of February. I don't have my calendar here. I think it's the 2nd and 3rd of February next year. And it's free. You just have to get to Brussels. But it doesn't cost anything in terms of registration. So compared to some other conference, it's sometimes cheaper to fly to Brussels than it is to, stay in the US if that's where you're from, and then visit a more expensive conference. So I'm really looking forward to seeing everyone there. And I think that's all we have for now. Okay. Final announcement, there will be a GNU Radio hackfest at the EDIS headquarters. This was already somewhat announced at GRCon. We have limited space, like physically we'll run out of space eventually at this hackfest. Other than that, everyone's welcome. The reason I bring up the limited space is we would like people to register. It doesn't cost anything, I mean, other than the travel cost that it takes to go to Silicon Valley. We just need to, see how much food we need to organize, and like how many chairs, and that kind of thing. So what's the agenda for the GNU Radio Hackfest? So we do want to keep it. We don't want to restrict it too much. Like in a nutshell, we just want to create a sort of a space where people can come together and work on their radio specific problems. Personally, I'm hoping that we can get some stability into the master branch during that week. But that is not a requirement. So people can say, oh, I've always wanted to work on this GR whatever out of tree module, and I'll just show up and then work on that while I'm there. And then I'll have other GNU Radio enthusiasts who I can ask questions and or collaborate with. Little side note, we will also do an RF-NOC hackfest here during the same week. And those, we fully intend there to be some overlap between those two. But you don't have to do anything with RF-NOC if you want to show up. Marcus, did you want to say something? You unmuted yourself.
I just wanted to express my gratitude for organizing that and getting helping to get getting the master branch stable. And I just wanted to stress that if you get a chance to visit Ethos, do that, folks. If you listen to that. Also, if you get if you're a developer, a student, whatever, and you get a chance to sit in a room with a bunch of guys who are enthusiastic about a project, might have worked with that for a while, do that. Write an email, say hi, whatever. Take the chance to get in touch with people. It's worth so much. So yeah, thank you, Martin, for organizing this.
All right. If you want to register, send an email to jeff.quenko@edas.com. The email address is on the wiki for this week's agenda, and I'm looking forward to seeing people there. All right. Yeah, we're almost reaching the half-hour marker, so I think that's a good point in time to wrap it up. Does anyone have any items they wanted to bring up that I didn't have on the original agenda?
Did we talk about next year's GRCon?
Oh, no, of course.
We should have.
We should have, yeah. So the date and the location are already fixed. I don't know the date off by heart, but the location is going to be Huntsville, Alabama. There's space stuff going on there, so that'll be interesting. And yeah, sorry, Marcus, go ahead.
Nothing. There's a lot of space stuff going on there. We'll probably try to get the tickets out early again. So yeah, if you got any questions regarding how to help organize a GRCon, you might contact any of us, I guess. So yeah,
that's right. All right, thanks everyone, and see you next month. Bye bye.
Bye bye.